Hey, thank you so much for joining with me in this video. If you like this kind of content, please do like and share this video, and do consider to subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously. In this video, I'm going to talk about basic home recording studio. Over the years, people have asked me, how can I start my own studio? How can I set it up? What are the gears that we need? Where to start? I have no clue. I don't have a space. Can I start it in my bedroom? Can I start it in my garage? And the answer to this whole mystery is anybody can start a home studio, especially in the time that we are living. The technology is developing so fast. There was a time, I remember in my childhood, our church had a studio, and to go to see the studio, it was just like going into a candy store. We had a lot of analog gears back in those days, but now you don't need necessarily those analog gears. You can have a stripped down version and you can just start recording in your bedroom. And honestly, that's how I started in my home. I had a stripped down version. Everything was in the box. I did not have analog gears at that time to start. And let me tell you also, when you see these kind of studios, like this is another studio that we have, and in this studio we have a lot of outboard gears, and I love analog gears. We do have a mixing station where we mix in the box, which means we just mix with the plugins and stuff like that. But we use a hybrid solution where we have a hardware and we have a software which we combine to mix and master and record. Let these kind of set not overwhelm you. You can always start from the basic, and to start with that, you need to understand what are the fundamental or the core components of a audio recording studio is. So this is what I'm going to share in this video. So let's talk about what do you really need for a home recording studio. So in any studio, there are two parts of this whole setup. One is a hardware side of it, and another one is a software side of it. So I'm going to talk about hardware first. All right, so let's just talk about the hardware that you need in your studio. The very first thing that you need in your studio is a computer. A computer is a heart in your studio. This is the place where all your VST plugins, your FX, your DAW will live in. I'm using Mac M1 13-inch MacBook Pro. So with that, the second thing you need, a device that can connect to your computer in order to provide a recording sound, and we call it an audio interface. Now this is a budget option from Behringer. It's a U-Phoria. I think it's $100 something, but if you don't like Behringer, you can always go with Focusrite Scarlett series or PreSonus. But again, in my testing, in my day-to-day use, I have seen all these interfaces in this price range. They sound just the same. So let's connect the audio interface to your computer, to your DAW. So to do that, you need a USB cable that goes from your computer to your audio interface. And when you buy an audio interface, these cable just comes in the package. So now the audio interface is connected and you see the power light on it. You also see here 48-volt power light. It's because if you are using a mic like that, which is a good possibility that you would be using in your studio, it's a condenser mic and this mic needs additional power to run. This power comes from your audio interface. All the audio interface would have this functionality where the interface will produce additional 48-volt phantom power, that's what we call it, to provide to your mic to run it. You can always use a dynamic mic like this one. It's a SE dynamic mic. They both sound different. It's not that this sound better or that sound better, this sound worse or that one. They all have their own place in recording. Now to connect these mics, you need an XLR cable. An XLR cable looks like this, where you have a male and female end. The male end that you would have in the cable, you would connect it on your audio interface. The female end, you would connect on your mic. So as you can see, as soon as I connected, the audio started coming on my computer. If you can see the levels going up on my computer. Hey, check 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna hit a recording on my computer and let's see what kind of levels are coming. Hey, check 1, 2, 3, check 1, 2, 3. Hey, check 1, 2, 3. So now you can see we have just made simple recording. My voice goes into the microphone through my audio interface into my computer. And just like that, you start recording your song. Now that was your microphone. What about if you have an audio unit or a plugin that produces a beat or something? So for example, I have Virtual Drummer Deep from UJam, and I'm just gonna pull a sample beat here. And as you can see, now there is a rhythm or a beat with my audio recorded. Hey, check 1, 2, 3, check 1, 2, 3. So this is how you do it when it comes to your recording. Now, when you're recording, make sure that you're not have your speakers on like this, because that would not help you. Why? Because if that will happen, the audio that is coming out of your computer will go in the mic and you will not have a clean recording. To fix that, you use a headphones. So you connect this to your audio interface, and then that way you have your monitoring headset, you're monitoring while recording. Apart from that, you can also add a MIDI keyboard into your setup. That'll help you to create MIDI tracks, because you need something to play those MIDI instrument in your DAW. You can start with a smaller keyboard. A lot of brands have a pocket or traveling version of those MIDI keyboards. The other thing you can also add is some acoustic instrument like acoustic guitar, some percussion, or maybe you have electric guitar that you can straight hook in. You don't need mic for that, just hook in with the pickups and then start recording. And again, with all these instruments, you can always edit their sound and manipulate the way you want it to sound. So apart from headphones, I would suggest to incorporate studio reference monitors in your setup. It's always good to have speakers for you to have a good reference and sound while you're mixing and mastering. Studio reference monitors, they come in a variety of range in terms of size and also price point. You really need to see what fits in your budget, and especially the room and the environment that you are setting up your studio in, how those speakers translate or sound your mix in that room. That's what you really need to look. So now let's talk about the software side of your studio. To have an audio studio, you pretty much need a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. You can start with Logic if you are an Apple user, or Fruity Loops. A lot of people start with Fruity Loops. It's a really great software for the beginner, and even for advanced people, a lot of good producers use Fruity Loops. You can start with Ableton Live, you can start with Studio One and Nuendo, Pro Tools. List goes on, and it's a war out there. People are loyal to one DAW and they say that this is the best, but trust me, I've used a lot of these DAWs and they don't sound different. It's just about how user-friendly they are, how easy to use they are, how you can work faster your mix or recording. That's where it all comes down to. So you need a DAW basically to have all these instruments coming in, being layered and recorded, right? The second piece of software you need, it's something called plugins. Every DAW comes with a huge set of plugins, everything that you need to start with. You have your EQs, you have your compressions, you have, your effects, you name it, everything is there. Even pretty much all the DAWs have their pitch correction softwares included in that. So you can start with that. And once you are good with that, you're happy with what it's doing, you're understanding it better, and you're developing your skill, then you can always bump up your purchases, your skill, and your collection to have more that you need. The other important thing that comes into the consideration is a place where you sit and you create this workstation, right? Like maybe your room, or you have your bedroom where you are initially starting, or maybe you are coming to a place where you're like, okay, I need a dedicated place. And at that time, I would suggest considering treating your room, because it is really important, especially when you're using or mixing on the speakers, the sound that comes out of speakers, and by the time it reaches to your ear, there are a lot of factors between the source and the receiver, which is our ear. There are a lot of factors that can manipulate or change that sound, and one of the factor is your room. If your room is not treated properly, what I mean, if your room is not deadened, it has a lot of reflection, and based on your room sound, you may be making changes and mixes based on that. And when you go in your car or in a different place, or maybe put it in your phone to listen to your mix, you would hear it totally different. So consider a place which is decently treated acoustically. Apart from that, if you are mixing on headphones, it's a different gameplay now. Your room is not a factor, because the sound from the source is not coming in the room and going to your ear. Now sound is coming right at your ear from the source. So there is nothing between the source, which is your headphone, and to your receivers, which is your ears. So there's nothing in between that. So the room and the reflection does not even come into consideration at that point. So now let's talk about mixing and mastering. And again, if you have a small home recording setup or studio, from envisioning the song, writing the music or writing the lyrics, to recording it, to producing it, to mixing it, to mastering, it's all your job. Trust me, I have been there. I know how it feels. Sometimes it feels quite frustrating, but in this whole process, when you do all these things, you learn a lot, you understand the whole process, you understand music as an art. And again, if you have a small recording setup, this is my suggestion. If you want to go ahead and mix and master your song, go ahead and do it. But it's always a good idea to send your song someone else to mix it. But if you don't want to do that, you would say, hey, this is my song, I want to mix it the way I want to mix it, go for it, mix it. But when you mix it, always send your mix to some of your friends or people whom you trust, who will give you honest opinion. Send them and say, hey, I mixed this song and tell me how it sounds. Even till today, I do this. When I mix or master a song, I send it to a couple of my friends and say, hey, can you listen to this song and tell me what you think? How does it sound? And every time they come back, they'll say, it sounds good. I feel that the mid was scooped, or I feel the highs were too harsh. And they would bring those suggestions. And then I will go back and I'll try to tweak it, and then the end result is always better. So do that, it'll help you. Again, that is mixing. And also for the mastering, if you want to master your song by yourself, you're more than welcome to do that. It's your song. But I have seen, in my experience, when I have sent my song out for mastering, the mastering engineer, because they have a dedicated mastering setup, they would tweak my sound or enhance my mix in the final stage of mastering in a way that it would sound better, and it'll sound, they call it radio ready or industry standard. And that is really important, because when you want to produce a song, that would go out and sound just like any other song, if not better, out on the internet. All right, so that is mixing and mastering. And again, we're talking about the home studio setup. As I said, learn, practice, and that's how you will grow. And as you will learn, you will start doing your own mixes and masters. And if you're not comfortable, it's always a good idea to send it to someone who does mix as a full-time job, or have a mastering studio, so that they can mix and master your song, and your song will come out really great. Thank you once again for joining this video. I hope this video will be some kind of help to you. Thank you once again for joining.